You just did a thing. That was fun. I saw a quote this week by Kathleen McTighe. She says, "Fear's pronoun is singular." I've got to watch out for me and for mine. Love's pronoun is plural. As in, we're in this together, and together we can grow things that will blossom, even in a time of drought. The plurality of love reminded me of universalism. Probably does you too, right? Universalism, it just comes like in unexpected moments. I know how you feel. My dictionary defines universalism as two ways. One, Christian theology, which is the belief that all humankind will eventually be saved.
Amen. Yes.
Christian universalism would insist that Christ's atonement did atone for everyone's sins. The second definition is moral universalism, which is loyalty to and concern for others without regard to national or other allegiances, as in a tendency toward universalism and inclusion. Now, as Unitarian Universalists, our Universalist forebears were, in fact, Christian. Some of you still are Christian. Some are here with us today. Still others hold a broader view that not only are all humans already saved, but that all beings are saved, and that the name for who or what is doing the saving is love.
Yes.
Capital L, love. So whether it's love or God or spirit or morality, whatever the name, I like this notion that love's pronoun is indeed plural. Now, the reason that I may have made this leap, and truth be told, it was more of a swooning fall, really, into the arms of Unitarian or into the arms of Universalism, is Giacomo Puccini's Turandot. I love this opera, and I love it because you're in it. You may not have known. You're in it, I'm in it, we are all in some way in it. Have you ever loved someone? You ever hated someone? Have you ever given all or been willing to give all for someone? If you answered yes, or even maybe, to any of those questions, then Puccini wrote Turandot just for you. Act 1. We meet Turandot, the cruel princess, cold-hearted femme fatale. She's been wronged. Her grandmother had been the victim of horrible violence at the hands of men, and she has inherited this trauma. It's really no laughing matter. But her revenge, the way that she chooses to work this out, is to use her beauty as a tool to lure men to their deaths. It's very opera stuff. So while we're introduced to this misogynistic portrayal of this woman, as we learn her story, just like as we learn our stories, we understand that there's a reason for her beliefs and her behavior. We next meet Calaf, the son of a deposed and exiled king. No one knows Calaf's name. Well, almost no one. He's our hero, and he seeks to win Turandot's heart. Calaf is chauvinistic and shallow, and as we learn his story and watch him be humbled by love, we understand There's a reason for his beliefs and his behavior. Turandot's method for revenge, to be unattainable to all suitors unless they ring the gong to signal their intent. This gong is almost a character in the opera itself. Just imagine the huge mallet that says, I throw myself into this ring. They ring the gong to signal their intent and then get an opportunity to correctly answer 3 riddles. Win this game and they win her hand in marriage, and so become the emperor of all China. Lose the challenge and lose their head at dawn in the public square. The opera opens with an angry, vengeful crowd in the square. They're calling for the head of the previous failed suitor. Into the crowd quietly enters Calaf, who sees Turandot and instantly falls in love. Though people try to talk him out of it, Calaf strides up to the gong, grabs the mallet, and rings it with all his force to a roar of the bloodthirsty masses. You would probably recognize the angry tone of that crowd. It sounds like us. By us, I mean all of us. Those who approve of the current state of things and those who deplore it. To some degree, we are all in the public square calling for blood. Fear's pronoun is singular. Love's pronoun is plural. So the problem or the challenge with love being plural is that to do it right, we don't get to pick who we is. At least not if we're universalist. Remember the definition of universalism? Loyalty to and concern for others without regard to national or other allegiances. I suspect the other may be the troublesome word of the day. Research by Jonathan Haidt and others shows us that we humans are tribal by nature. We instinctively band together in homogeneous groups. We are hardwired to assume that there is always an us and a them. Now, one of my favorite universalists of all time is Hosea Ballou. I know, you've heard his name 1,000 times. You probably tell all your friends about Hosea Ballou. So this may be no news, but he was born in 1771 and became somewhat of an itinerant preaching phenom at the age of 20. He published a book called A Treatise on Atonement that upended the Orthodox Christian notion of original sin and salvation. And he published Universalist Magazine, a weekly newspaper whose columns contained, and I quote, vigorous defenses against the calumnies of the Orthodox Congregationalists, Unitarians, Methodists, and other opponents. Universalism. Well, there's always a little more sharpening to be done. But there is a great story about Hosea Ballou. He'd been preaching without being ordained, and at age 23, he was preaching at the Unitarian, or the Universalist convention, rather, in Oxford, Mass. These conventions were sometimes rowdy affairs. Think of like a Baptist tent revival in a field somewhere. Just everybody having a grand old time and getting really, really excited about what they believe. Well, he just finished delivering a fevered sermon that moved the crowd. And in fact, it so moved the crowd that another famous Universalist, Elhanan Winchester, stands up, presses the Bible against Ballou's chest and says, "Brother Ballou, I press to your heart the written Jehovah." The Bible against the heart was the ritual to ordain a minister. Ballou, being naturally in the spirit, shouts something like, "Deliver me the charge." It was completely unplanned, probably inappropriate, and utterly adorable. An important note, all of that happened in a Southern accent in my head. Both Ballou and Winchester were from New England, so born in Massachusetts. So there's my lens for you. Now, the Universalists of that time were people too. They were people, right? They squabbled and railed against the Calvinists, just like people today rail against one group or another. But Ballou's message of universal love and salvation inspires. He calls on us to have faith and to remember that the imperative of faith is love. The word faith for me, it implies the volition that love is real and that I am deserving of it, even in my lowest, most unlovable moments. The thing is, in order for this to be true, I've got to find in myself the same love for others who even this minute, right now, know, they absolutely know that they are unlovable. If I am to love universally, I must find love for all. So I can't talk about Turandot and the riddles without telling you the actual riddles. So the first one is, what dies every day and is born anew each night? Kalaf answers, hope. Swoon. Act 2 of Turandot opens with what to me feels like, honestly, cringe-worthy cultural appropriation. Being set in Beijing, China, Puccini naturally included 3 characters named Ping, Pang, and Pong. There are Chinese-sounding musical phrases, and the 3 Ps gossip and fantasize about how much better life could be if someone solved the riddles, and Turandot suddenly became a happy ruler. I am reminded by that bit of unfair liberty taken by Puccini of the many liberties that I myself take, like celebrating today's worship on land that was stolen from its original inhabitants. Perhaps a lesson in humility of the multiple truths that can coexist. On one hand, while we work to dismantle systems of oppression, we are, on the other hand, standing on the backs of others who will never experience that same privilege, that freedom that I do. Both things can be true. So this love thing is hard. I mean, the kind of love that we need to bring humanity closer to its potential. I mean, love is a discipline, not lazy love. Hardworking, hands dirty, knees scraped love that we're called to find in ourselves, for ourselves, and for humanity. Love that we're called to find in ourselves for those that we deplore. There's a reason we react so strongly to some people. The ones we want to just hate. The ones that have us in the city square by the thousands calling for blood. We hate some people and especially really detest a few, or the reason that we do is that there's some aspect of them that may, just may, remind us of the one piece of ourselves that we find unforgivable. It's as if someone reached into me and took that one secret place inside that I find unlovable and turned that part of me into another human being. If I could just rid the world of that person, or punish them enough, then maybe, just maybe, I will have atoned. So at the end of Act 2, Turandot is gloating to her father about yet another headless suitor. Some part of her that she cannot forgive has been punished yet again, and yet she agonizes over the pain and the anger that she feels that just won't stop. The pain and the anger, you see, they don't stop because it's not about those people. Kalof's turn at life or death trivia comes up, and he correctly answers the 3 riddles. The crowd now roars with relief. Can the agony finally be over? Can their cruel treatment at the hands of the princess be at an end? Well, by law, Kalof has won. Turandot must marry him, even though she doesn't want to. And as she is storming away at her father, who insists that she marry, Kalof offers her redemption. Tell me my name before morning, and at dawn, let the executioner have his way. He has her, but he doesn't have her heart. So love calls him to extremes. Love does that, you know. I said real love isn't easy. It's suspiciously like work, discipline. The sage David Bowie said, because love's such an old-fashioned word, and love dares you to care for the people on the edge of the night. And love dares you to change our way of caring about ourselves. This is our last dance. This is ourselves. So riddle number 2 is what flickers red and is warm like a flame, yet is not fire. Kalof answers, blood. In Act 3, the stunned princess has returned to her palace and issued a decree, Nessun Dorma. In all Beijing, no one may sleep until Kalof's name is discovered. Now it is nearly dawn, and the entire town is exhausted. They're trudging around, chanting, none shall sleep, none shall sleep. Kalof's hope grows. There is a chance that love may yet be found. As he hears the townspeople chanting, he picks up their refrain, Nessun Dorma, Nessun Dorma. Then he delivers one of the most famous arias of all time, calling on fate to rush onward. He sings, watch the stars that tremble with love and with hope. But my secret is hidden within me. My name no one shall know, but on your lips I will speak it. Now vanish, O night, set, O stars, at daybreak I will win. Only it sounds much better because it's in Italian. Kalof's act of surrender proves too much for Turandot. He bests her in her challenge, getting what he wants, but then he offers to give it all away in order to give her another chance to hate. Instead, in the face of this selfless act, her anger and her fear crumble. Dawn breaks. Turandot says, now I know the answer to your riddle. Your name is love. Swoon. And love indeed triumphs over all. That last riddle, by the way, that Kalof answered, what is like ice but burns? The answer, of course, is Turandot. I think that's wrong, though. I think the answer is hate. The hatred and the fear and corrosive disregard for love is too much. and must be fought. Unlike the many cries to battle that we hear each day, though, this battle can only be fought with kindness, humility, and determined, patient love. There are so many parallels in Turandot to this, our faith, and to this, our age. The coming light of dawn always reminds me of our chalice and its promise of enlightenment and inspiration. Beloveds, the greatest love story of all time is still being written. I don't mean some silly opera. I mean your life. Just like in Turandot's riddle, the moment hope dies, it is born again and again and again. You are the hero of this story. Your triumphs and your tragedies, your laughter and your tears are all recording the script, the scripture of the ultimate plot. Our Unitarian Universalist faith calls us to understand that revelation is not sealed, it is continuous. So I implore us all to pick up the pen and write the story we want told. No more calling for yet another head in the town square. No more us and them. The inherent worth and dignity of every person doesn't mean we have to like or to agree with every person. It does not mean that we can't rise up and fight like hell for what we believe in. But even in war, there is room for dignity and respect, and yes, even love. In the words of Dr. King, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Until that day, until that great getting up morning, when we can set such an example with our loving way of being in the world, even among those who wish us harm, let Kalaf be our example. Let love be not just a word, but a discipline. Nessun Dorma. Let none sleep until it is so. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
Nessun dorma, nessun dorma. Tu pure, o principessa, nella tua fredda stanza, guardi le stelle che tremano d'amore e di speranza. Ma il mio mistero chiuso in me, il nome mio nessun saprà, no, no, sulla tua bocca lo dirò, quando la luce splenderà. Ed il mio bascio scoglierà il silenzio che ti fa mia. Di lei qua notte tramontate stelle vincerò.